July 15th, 2008, Orlando, Florida. A 911 call cuts through the evening air. Cindy Anthony's voice cracks. "My daughter's been missing for 31 days, and my car smells like there's been a dead body in it." Caylee Anthony, 22, sits in an interrogation room, mascara perfect, story changing every 5 minutes. While Orange County searched for her missing toddler, Caylee partied at Fusion nightclub, entered hot body contests, got a tattoo that read Bella Vita, beautiful life. The FBI brings cadaver dogs, both alert on the trunk of her white Pontiac Sunfire in the backyard of her parents' house on Hopespring Drive. Detectives find her story about a nanny named Zenaida, complete fabrication. The apartment doesn't exist. The woman doesn't exist. In Caylee's bedroom, one thing is missing: a small Winnie the Pooh blanket with mint green stripes. That blanket will reappear 6 months later, wrapped around tiny bones in a wooded area 1/2 mile from the house. And somehow, after hearing all of this, 12 people will set her free. Early 2008, Caylee Anthony lives with her parents George and Cindy in suburban Orlando, playing the role of responsible single mother. She tells everyone she works as an event coordinator at Universal Studios, a complete lie. Her daughter Caylee, nearly 3 years old, blonde curls bouncing, lights up every family gathering. Home videos from Caylee's second birthday party in March show a seemingly happy family. The toddler clutching her Winnie the Pooh blanket in almost every frame, but Caylee maintains a double life. No job, no nanny. Real nightclubs, fake explanations. She juggles boyfriends, borrows money, makes excuses. Her parents call repeatedly asking about Caylee. Caylee dodges with practiced ease. Caylee's at the beach with the nanny. Caylee's at the theme park. Caylee's sleeping. George and Cindy, despite their suspicions, want to believe their daughter. The best liars believe their own stories first. They sell the illusion so well that even family members buy it. But something in Caylee's carefully constructed world is about to shatter completely. June 16th, 2008. The last day anyone sees Caylee Marie Anthony alive. George Anthony, former law enforcement, watches his daughter and granddaughter leave the house around 12:50 p.m. Both appear normal. Caylee's carrying a backpack. Caylee's holding her blanket. The afternoon timeline goes completely dark. No witnesses, no surveillance footage, no digital trail. Caylee's phone pings near her parents' house in the early evening, then goes silent for hours. By midnight, Caylee surfaces at her boyfriend Tony Lazaro's apartment near Full Sail University. She's alone. No Caylee, no explanation. Tony asks where the kid is. Caylee says the nanny has her. According to phone records and witness statements reconstructed later, something happened between 1 p.m. and midnight that Monday, but no one knows exactly what. The Winnie the Pooh blanket never appears in the Anthony house. Again after June 16th. Investigators will search that home repeatedly over the next months. They'll find Caylee's other toys, her clothes, her photographs. But the blanket she carried everywhere? Gone. In missing persons cases, the first 24 hours decide everything. Caylee Anthony waited 31 days to tell anyone her daughter was missing. June 17 through July 15, 2008. Caylee's 31-day freedom tour. She moves between her boyfriend's apartment and friends' houses, partying at Fusion nightclub on multiple nights, entering a hot body contest, posing for photos with her arms around friends, drinking, dancing. Blockbuster surveillance shows her renting movies with Tony, appearing completely carefree. Target receipts show shopping sprees using money from her boyfriend and stolen checks from her friend Amy Huizenga. Her phone records reveal over 500 text messages sent during this period, coordinating hookups, making plans, discussing trivial gossip. Not one message mentions Caylee, not one. Jailhouse recordings captured later preserve Caylee's own words. All they care about is finding Caylee. She complains to a friend, frustration clear in her voice. Her parents, Cindy and George, call repeatedly. Casey promises Caylee will visit soon, claims the nanny took her to the beach, to Tampa, to Jacksonville. On June 24th, 8 days after Caylee vanished, Casey walks into a tattoo parlor and gets Bella Vita inked on her left shoulder. Beautiful life. Photos from this period show Casey's carefree existence, and in one shot, visible in the background, Caylee's empty car seat still strapped in the Pontiac. Freedom only feels like freedom before consequences arrive, and Cindy Anthony is about to force those consequences into the light. July 15th, 2008, 4 p.m. Cindy Anthony retrieves her daughter's abandoned white Pontiac Sunfire from a tow lot on Narcoosea Road. The tow yard manager hands her the keys with a warning, "You might want to brace yourself." The smell hits Cindy the moment she opens the door. Overwhelming, unmistakable. George arrives minutes later. As a former sheriff's deputy, he recognizes it instantly. Human decomposition. They find a bag of trash in the trunk, disposed of quickly, but the smell remains soaked into the carpet liner. Cindy drives to Tony Lazaro's apartment and confronts Casey. No Caylee. No believable explanation. Casey sticks to her story. She's with the nanny, Zenaida Fernandez-Gonzalez. 31 days of lies finally collapsing under the weight of that smell. At 8:01 p.m., Cindy calls 911. Her voice, preserved forever in recordings played millions of times. "There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in my damn car." The dispatcher tries to calm her. Cindy makes a second call minutes later, this time specific. "My granddaughter has been missing for 31 days. Orange County Sheriff's deputies arrive at the Anthony home on Hopespring Drive. Casey is arrested that night on child neglect charges. In the trunk of her Pontiac, forensic teams will cut out a section of carpet, the fibers soaked with decomposition fluid, the chemical signature unmistakable. The truth doesn't care about your timeline. It waits until someone forces it into daylight. Casey Anthony's story is about to change 3 times in the next 3 hours. July 16th, 2008, Orange County Sheriff's Office. Detective Yuri Melich sits across from Casey Anthony in an interrogation room. She appears calm, cooperative, eager to help find Caylee. She explains. She works at Universal Studios as an event coordinator, has worked there for years. Caylee is with her nanny, Zenaida Fernandez-Gonzalez, a woman she's known since 2004. Zanny took Caylee to the beach. Casey provides an address. Sawgrass Apartments, Unit 210. Detectives drive Casey to Universal Studios to verify her employment and retrace her steps. She leads them confidently through the employee entrance, security waving them past. They walk through the park. Casey pointing out familiar locations, discussing her routine. The walk continues deeper into the backstage areas. Other employees pass. No one recognizes Casey. Security finally stops the group. Casey Anthony hasn't worked at Universal Studios in years. They have no record of recent employment. The detectives keep walking. Casey keeps walking. They reach an empty hallway near the break room. Casey stops. Silence. "I don't work here," she finally admits. First major lie collapses on video. Detectives believe a confession is coming. The walls are closing in. Instead, Casey doubles down. The Zenaida story expands with new details. The nanny is Puerto Rican, mid-20s, drives a silver Ford. Detectives visit Sawgrass Apartments. Unit 210 has been vacant for months. No one named Zenaida Fernandez-Gonzalez rented there. Ever. The apartment management has no record of anyone by that name. The woman Casey described doesn't exist. The security badge Casey showed detectives earlier Expired 2 years prior, issued for a brief seasonal position. Liars don't break when caught. They construct new lies on the foundation of old ones, hoping something holds. But the FBI is bringing in the cadaver dogs. Late July 2008, FBI takes over the investigation, bringing resources Orange County Sheriff lacks. They process Casey's Pontiac with forensic precision, collecting air samples from the sealed trunk. The chemistry comes back positive. Human decomposition, specifically markers consistent with adipoxia, the waxy substance produced when human tissue breaks down in enclosed spaces. Cadaver dogs, Gerris and Bones, both certified human, remains detection animals, alert on the trunk carpet and a section of the Anthony backyard near the playhouse. George Anthony's attempted cleanup becomes obvious under forensic light. Someone scrubbed the trunk liner with multiple cleaning products, tried masking the smell with dryer sheets and air fresheners. The chemistry doesn't lie. The smell of death can never fully be removed according to forensic reports. Investigators seize Casey's laptop, a gateway computer she shared with family members. The browser history from March 2008, 3 months before Caylee vanished, reveals searches that freeze the investigation team. Chloroform, how to make chloroform, neck-breaking, household weapons, shovel. Someone in that house researched murder methods months before a child disappeared. Trunk liner photos, shown later to the jury, reveal a dark stain visible in the carpet fiber, roughly 3 feet by 2 feet, approximately the size of a small child. Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC broadcast the forensic findings live. Nancy Grace on HLN calls it slam dunk evidence, proclaiming Casey Anthony guilty before any trial. The forensics tell a story. Decomposition happened in that trunk, cleanup was attempted, and someone planned something months in advance. Science speaks when humans lie. The chemistry, the dogs, the digital footprint all point one direction. But juries don't convict on science alone. They need a story that makes sense. And in August 2008, Jose Baez walks into the Orange County Jail with exactly that story in mind. August 2008, Jose Baez, a relatively unknown defense attorney from Miami, takes Casey Anthony's case pro bono. Controversial, theatrical, hungry for the spotlight, exactly what this case needs. His strategy becomes clear immediately. Attack the evidence, attack the family, create reasonable doubt from chaos. If you can't prove your client innocent, make the jury uncertain about everything. Casey adjusts to jail life with disturbing ease. Other inmates later report she loved the attention, discussed her media coverage like a celebrity tracking their career. Guards note she never cries about Caylee, never asks about the search efforts, never displays expected maternal grief. Baez visits weekly. Their conversations, observed by guards, focus on media strategy and public perception rather than what happened to Caylee. Recorded phone calls from jail preserve Casey's priorities. She complains about protesters outside, about Nancy Grace's coverage, about her parents talking to media. Zero emotion about her missing daughter. When friends mention Caylee on calls, Casey's response is brief, annoyed. Everyone's only focused on Caylee. One inmate who shared Casey's cell block gave an interview years later, quote preserved. She talked about Caylee like someone would talk about a lost purse, not a dead child. Casual. Inconvenienced. Jailhouse photos show Casey smiling at commissary, chatting with other inmates, appearing entirely unbothered. The contrast between expected behavior and actual behavior becomes the prosecution's strongest narrative tool. What mother acts like this? But Baez sees the same contrast differently. Traumatized people don't always perform grief correctly, he'll argue. Sometimes trauma looks like dissociation, like inappropriate affect, like someone protecting themselves from reality. Monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look bored, sometimes they look numb. Sometimes they look like a pretty 22-year-old girl who made terrible decisions. The defense strategy is set. All they need now is a body to give them something concrete to work with. In December 2008, a meter reader walking through woods near Suburban Drive finds exactly that. December 11th, 2008, Roy Kronk, a utility meter reader for Orange County, walks through a wooded area off Suburban Drive, less than half a mile from the Anthony home. He's searching the same location he called about in August. Dispatch ignored his tips twice before. This time, he uses a stick to move aside a canvas bag sitting in the palmetto scrub. A small skull rolls out. Duct tape across the mouth area. Bones scattered in the undergrowth. A garbage bag, a laundry bag, and a small blanket, mint green stripes. Winnie the Pooh. Characters faded, but recognizable. Orange County Sheriff's deputies secure the scene within an hour. Medical examiner Dr. Gian Garavaglia arrives personally. This case is too high profile to delegate. The skull is small, consistent with a toddler. Dental records and DNA confirm identity within days. Caylee Marie Anthony, 2 years 10 months old at time of death, deceased since summer 2008. The body had been lying in those woods, 15 feet from Suburban Drive, exposed to Florida heat and humidity, scavenged by animals, skeletonized. Cause of death, homicide by undetermined means. The medical examiner cannot establish exactly how Caylee died. Decomposition too advanced, tissue gone, only bones remain. But the duct tape placement suggests suffocation, the manner of death, definitely homicide. National media converges on Orlando. Memorials spring up at the wooded site. Stuffed animals, flowers, candles, handwritten notes. Evidence photo number 67 shows that Winnie the Pooh blanket, the same one missing from Caylee's bedroom since June 16th, now wrapped around the remains of a dead child. The laundry bag matches a bag missing from the Anthony garage. George Anthony confirms it belonged to the family. The truth was 15 feet from a residential road, hidden in plain sight for 6 months while the world searched. When investigators inform Casey Anthony that they found her daughter's body, she shows no visible reaction. No tears, no breakdown, just a blank stare. 2009 through early 2011, the legal machinery grinds forward. Casey Anthony remains in Orange County Jail, pleads not guilty to first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, aggravated manslaughter, and 4 counts of lying to law enforcement. The prosecution seeks the death penalty, building a case around premeditation, the March internet searches, the chloroform evidence, the 31-day delay, the decomposition in the trunk, the duct tape, the lies. Linda Drain Burdick and Jeff Ashton lead the prosecution, experienced, confident, certain this case is unwinnable for the defense. Media coverage explodes. The trial is dubbed the social media trial of the century. Facebook groups demanding justice, Twitter hashtags trending daily, Nancy Grace dedicating entire shows to the case. Casey becomes the most hated woman in America. Protests outside the jail become so intense that security increases. Death threats arrive daily. But Jose Baez watches public opinion and sees opportunity. The more everyone believes Casey is guilty, the more suspicious a not guilty verdict looks, unless he can give the jury a different story entirely. The defense strategy evolves. Accident theory. Caylee drowned in the family pool on June 16th. George Anthony discovered the body and covered it up, staging it to look like murder. George sexually abused Casey as a child, conditioning her to hide truth, to dissociate, to perform normalcy under trauma. Zero evidence supports any of this. George denies everything under oath. But Baez doesn't need evidence. He needs reasonable doubt. Caylee's courtroom behavior continues to disturb observers. She never cries for Caylee during testimony about the remains, the duct tape, the blanket. She only cries when prosecutors discuss seeking the death penalty against her. Mock courtroom photos show Caylee taking careful notes, appearing engaged but emotionless about her daughter's death. Public opinion solidifies. Guilty. Legal experts predict conviction. The defense plans something else entirely. Public opinion doesn't matter if you can confuse 12 specific people. May 2011, trial begins. Cameras rolling, 400 million people watching worldwide. May 24, 2011, Orange County Courthouse. Opening statements begin before a jury of 7 women and 5 men. Prosecutor Linda Drain Burdick lays out the state's case with methodical precision. Casey Anthony murdered her daughter Caylee to free herself from parental responsibility, disposed of the body, and spent 31 days partying while her daughter decomposed in the trunk of her car before dumping remains in nearby woods. The evidence: forensic testimony about decomposition, cadaver dog alerts, computer searches for chloroform and murder methods, the duct tape, the Winnie the Pooh blanket, 31 days of documented lies and partying. Then Jose Baez stands. His opening statement drops a bomb that changes everything. Caylee Anthony died on June 16, 2008, when she drowned in the family's above-ground pool. George Anthony found her body and, rather than call 911, he disposed of his granddaughter's body to cover up years of sexual abuse against Caylee. Abuse that conditioned her to hide truth and dissociate from trauma. The courtroom goes silent. No evidence supports this theory. George Anthony denies it completely when he testifies, visibly shaken and angry. But Baez isn't trying to prove the drowning theory. He's trying to create doubt about the murder theory. If the jury believes Caylee might have drowned accidentally, they can't convict Caylee of premeditated murder. The strategy is simple. Don't prove innocence, just prevent certainty about guilt. Over 6 weeks, the jury hears testimony about chloroform. Defense experts call it junk science. About cadaver dogs. Defense claims they're unreliable. About the smell in the trunk. Defense suggests it was garbage. About Caylee's behavior. Defense claims trauma response. The Winnie the Pooh blanket is shown to the jury 47 times. Prosecution emphasizes it as the death shroud. Defense dismisses it as circumstantial. Reasonable doubt doesn't require truth. It just requires confusion. And the prosecution, despite overwhelming evidence, cannot definitively prove how Caylee died. The verdict comes faster than anyone expected. July 5, 2011. Jury deliberations conclude after only 10 hours and 40 minutes. Courthouse security braces for reaction. Protesters pack the lawn outside. News networks broadcast live. The jury files. Back into the courtroom. Judge Belvin Perry asks for the verdict. The forewoman stands. Not guilty of first-degree murder. Not guilty of aggravated manslaughter. Not guilty of aggravated child abuse. Guilty only of 4 misdemeanor counts of providing false information to law enforcement. The courtroom erupts. Caylee Anthony breaks down crying, the first real tears anyone has seen from her during the entire trial. Protesters outside scream. Inside the courthouse, prosecutors sit in stunned silence. News anchors on CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC appear visibly shocked on live television. Nancy Grace calls it the biggest miscarriage of justice she's witnessed. Legal experts struggle to explain how the prosecution lost a case with this much evidence. One juror, in an interview months later, provided the explanation. We didn't like Caylee. We thought she was a liar. But we didn't know how Caylee died, so we couldn't say beyond reasonable doubt that Caylee murdered her. The prosecution didn't prove their case. The circumstantial evidence, overwhelming as it appeared, couldn't definitively establish manner of death or prove Casey's direct involvement in causing that death. Cameras capture the moment Caylee hugs Jose Baez, relief flooding her face, tears still streaming. Prosecutor Jeff Ashton later calls July 5, 2011, the worst day of my professional life, claiming the jury prioritized forensic perfection over common sense. But that's not how the law works. The law doesn't punish suspicion, only proof beyond reasonable doubt. And 12 people, despite the decomposition, the duct tape, the lies, the 31 days, the Winnie the Pooh blanket shown 47 times, couldn't be certain enough to convict. America would punish Casey Anthony themselves in ways the justice system couldn't. July 7, 2011, sentencing for the 4 misdemeanor lying convictions. Judge Perry sentences Caylee to 1 year per count, with credit for the 143 days she's already served in Orange County Jail since July 2008. She's released July 17, 2011 in the middle of the night to avoid protesters who have promised violence. Security escorts her out through underground tunnels. She disappears into hiding immediately. No interviews, no public appearances, location unknown. The most hated woman in America walks free, but her freedom is confined to shadows. Civil lawsuits follow within months. Zenaida Gonzalez, the real woman whose name Caylee used for her fake nanny, sues for defamation. Texas Equus Search, the volunteer organization that spent hundreds of thousands searching for Caylee, sues to recover costs, claiming Caylee knew Caylee was dead the entire time they searched. Caylee declares bankruptcy in 2013. Her life after acquittal becomes a series of secret locations, occasional sightings, leaked photos showing her in Florida bars or walking dogs for cash. No stable employment, no normal life possible. 2022. Caylee appears in a Peacock documentary, still claiming Caylee drowned, still implicating her father, George, still showing no remorse or grief. The same Winnie the Pooh blanket that provided comfort in life and became a shroud in death remains sealed in evidence storage at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Never to be released, never to be destroyed, held forever as artifact of a case that divided a nation. A Gallup poll conducted after the verdict showed 64% of Americans believed Casey Anthony guilty despite the jury's decision. Legal freedom is not the same as actual freedom. Caylee lives in permanent hiding, forever marked by a verdict that freed her body but imprisoned her life. The mystery of what really happened between 1 p.m. and midnight on June 16, 2008, never closes. Present day, Casey Anthony, now in her mid-30s, lives under various aliases in South Florida, according to occasional tabloid sightings. Caylee Marie Anthony would be 19 years old. The case fundamentally changed how America views justice, reasonable doubt, and the burden of proof. Florida lawmakers proposed Caylee's law requiring parents to report missing children within 24 hours. Versions passed in several states, though not federally. The core question remains unanswered. What happened between 1 p.m. and midnight on June 16, 2008? No confession, no definitive evidence, no closure. Those who knew Casey Anthony during that period, friends, family, investigators, offer consistent observations. She valued personal freedom above everything, including her daughter. But valuing freedom and committing murder are different crimes, and American law demands proof of the latter. The memorial at the Discovery site on Suburban Drive still receives visitors. Flowers, toys, and Winnie the Pooh characters left by strangers who never met Caylee but felt connected to her story. America still debates the verdict. Was it failed prosecution or brilliant defense? Did the jury follow the law correctly by demanding certainty, or did they let emotion, backlash against Nancy, Grace's crusade, sympathy for the underdog, cloud their judgment? The original Winnie the Pooh blanket from Caylee's bedroom, evidence marker through our 6th 7, remains sealed in Orange County evidence storage, will likely never be released. That small piece of fabric with faded cartoon characters carries the entire weight of an impossible case. A mother who showed no grief, a child who deserved justice, and a legal system that couldn't bridge the gap between moral certainty and evidentiary proof. The blanket that once meant comfort and safety became a death shroud, then a symbol of American justice's deepest frustration. Sometimes the truth everyone knows can't be proven in court, and that blanket will never speak.